What's up, everybody? How's everybody's Monday going? We got me and Remo here, or Remo and I should say. We got the Easy ABL video done. It was 18 hours of work for a 40-minute video, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out. There's actually more I wanted to put in there, but I left it on the cutting room floor, so to speak, because it was just getting to be too long. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I hope it helps everybody out who's going to be getting those kits. I'm also going to be taking each section, because I did put little timestamps in the video description so you guys can easily navigate and go through it to see where everything's at. It's divided into sections. I'm going to be cutting those sections out and putting them into individual clips and uploading those to the channel as well. So if somebody is ever like, oh, I need to know how to do this part, or I'm stuck at this step, they can just be sent a direct link to that segment. So, and of course, now that I'm streaming, Remo has picked up a squeaky toy. So, yeah, anyways. But yeah, yeah, there's a lot of bloopers. There's a lot. I was talking to Justin in our Discord, and the blooper would pretty much be me just swearing at the machine. I'm not even joking. At one point when I was doing the solid bed mount installation, because I did include that in there since it's a product we sell alongside the Easy ABL. I figured it'd be cool to show it in that video, so I threw it in there. He almost knocked over the table and all my mounts went flying. And you can just hear me just being like, just swearing and being like, damn it, and some other things. So anyways, but yeah, we are trying to think of what company updates we have for you guys. Now that the Easy ABL video is done, I'm actually going to be putting the direct drive kit on this. I've had it sitting for a while. Can we not? We're gonna take this squeaky toy and we're gonna put it on the desk for now. Go find a quiet toy. But anyways, I'm gonna be doing a little. It'll be just like a hangout live stream. I'm gonna be futzing around and putting it on there. And then this printer is going to end up getting sold, and I have a guy that's local that's looking to get into 3D printing, so he's going to be getting a pretty well upgraded CR10 V2. So, and then you'll see like an official CR10 V3 support in the next firmware release, because the CR10 V2 and V3 are basically the same machine. The difference is the CR10 V3 comes with the direct drive already installed, so it's the same machine. The same machine is just one's Bowden and one's direct drive, and you can upgrade the V2 to direct drive. So I have the kit to upgrade the V2 to the direct drive. So, did we find another toy? There's like a million of them back there. I'm sure you guys can see all the dog toys on the floor. Yeah. But anyways, that's about all I have. We are making progress on the new Easy board that will utilize a processor that we can actually get, and we have already. So we've already bought processors. Been working with Scott and what's the other guy's name? I'm trying to think. We have a group chat going on Discord. He's over in Spain. He's been very helpful because he's very familiar with these chips. Where is it? Rhapsody. So, but we've got basically all of the stuff working on it. We've got a working bootloader. We've got firmware going. Now we just got to put it in a machine and get it running prints. So, but yeah, so Easy Boards, hopefully in about a month and a half to 2 months, we should have Easy Boards ready to go. We started with the Easy Board V1 design and then had to reroute some stuff because we're using a completely different processor. We're still not able to get LPC processors. I don't know when we're going to be getting them. So we're just pushing ahead with making a new version that uses processors we can actually get. Speaking of processors, though, I did want to touch again on the Aquila, the Voxelab Aquila, because after doing some more poking around and seeing comments and people leaving comments on our video on it, it seems that Voxelab has kind of done a bait and switch on people, where the early models that people bought and then did reviews on had an STM32 F1 series processor with 512K of memory, which is a decent chip. That's what Creality uses on their boards. But now they're shipping the knockoff that's only got 256K. Now, I don't know if they're doing it because of supply issues, but the concerning thing is, as far as I can tell, they're using the same firmware on both of those chips. And the problem is, if you use a firmware that's utilizing the 512K memory space on a 256K chip, especially a knockoff, you can run into issues like Big Tree Tech had, where printers were hard locking with the heaters on and no thermal runaway can prevent it from causing damage. So it's also going to complicate doing firmware for the printer, because we'll have to have two different variations of that firmware, one for the 512K chip and one for the 256K chip. Now, the 256K chip is functional. You can use it, but the problem is they just switched this out and didn't think of the ramifications of, utilizing memory that's been disabled on especially a knockoff chip. I can probably imagine that the knockoff chip is not as good as a genuine STM32 processor. So either way, I'm kind of up in the air on that machine. I feel like everything but the board in that is a decent buy, especially at the price point. So, but them sending out machines with the wrong firmware on it, and wrong being a 512K build on a 256K chip, that's a little concerning, because things can hard lock, and it has happened multiple times on the Big Tree Tech boards with the same family of processors, not the knockoffs, but the actually genuine STM32s. So, but yeah, if you have a Voxelab Aquila, I would highly recommend keeping an eye on it. Don't run it unattended until we see what's going on. But anyways, that's all the tangent I have for today. Just basically plugging away here, getting through the backlog. I'm so glad the EasyABL video is done. That was a huge thing off of my to-do list and allows us to move forward, and I hope it helps everybody out. So let's get into what we're here for, which is for me to basically be your 3D printer Google here. So let's see who's in the chat. I'm just going to read a couple of the names here. I see Jerry's here from 3D Printing and Painting, Viquez, Dominic Versetto, TJ Dorman, Mr. Poffenbaga, Dan Adams, Kurt Shaw. I don't see Madoob in here. Is Madoob here? Madoob, paging Madoob. He's not. Madoob has left us. He hasn't shown up. Maybe he's actually working today. I'm not sure. Mr. Nemo's here, though, and Sean. See Sean, Derek, Cirillo. Who else? Who else? Vince. I see you, Vince. Jonathan Barnes. All you regulars. There's so many people watching, but so few people chatting. Come on, if you're watching, say hi in the chat. Talk to people. Ask me questions. Or just say hi. And, do the whole YouTube thing. Smash that like button. Because apparently YouTube likes that. I personally don't care if people like or dislike the videos, but YouTube does in their algorithm stuff. So, anyways, let's see what questions we have here. I'm going to scroll back up. I thought I saw one towards the top. Yeah, M. Poffenbarger said, Tim, can you review how-to firmware on an 8-bit board with the Octoprint plug-in? My printer too far away and would rather not move them. Okay, so basically what you're going to do if you're trying to flash, I don't think I have a couple 8-bit machines. Let me pull up my Easy 300 interface here, because that one does, and I do update that one over the Octoprint. So because 8-bit boards update over USB, somebody has made a plugin for Octoprint that allows you to flash the firmware over the USB connection. Now, I know there are some plugins, and I think the same plugin will actually try to do the 32-bit boards, but this is using our EasyPi image. I think this is an older one. No, it's got arc welders. This is one of our newer ones. I just changed the name. I like to change the names on them. But anyways, so in the firmware setup, now if you're using our EasyPi image, we've already pre-installed on the back end. You have to do it over SSH. There's a tool called AVR Dude, and that is what is used to flash the firmware. So basically, you're going to use VS Code to build a firmware. Let me see here. I don't know what I have. What do I have open here? Probably the CR10 V2. It's the CR10 V2. Probably, because that's what I did. Yeah, so I did the video here. So anyways, if we go here, so this is for the CR10 V2, which is an 8-bit board. The same thing as the 32 bits, you got this PIO folder, you got build, and then Mega 2560, and you can see right here, firmware.hex. So this is the file you want to actually send to the printer. So you would use this file. So, and by use it, I mean you would come into the plugin. We're going to go on the left side here, firmware updater. You would hit browse and then select that. Now, you do have to configure a couple different things. It depends on what board you have. And you're basically going to have two boards for the most part for the 8-bit 3D printers. They either usually use a 2560 or the Atmel 1284p. So you have a 2560. You want to make sure you have the path to AVR Dude here. You can test it to see if the path is valid. If it says path is not valid, you have to SSH into your Pi, do a sudo apt get install AVR Dude, and then you put this path. This is the path user bin AVR Dude. But you want to also make sure you set your MCU to, if it's a 2560, you select 2560, and you set the programmer type to wiring. If it's a 1284p, you would select the 1284p and change your programmer type to Arduino. So if you're using a 1284, it would be the 1284p and the programmer type Arduino. This printer is a 2560, so I'd use a 18 Mega 2560 and the wiring. Now, if you look here on the drop-down, they do have stuff like here, like Marlin binary file transfer, STM32 built-in bootloader, and LPC 1760X. I have not had success using this with the 32-bit ones, but I've also not tried again in probably about 9 or 10 months. I just kind of gave up, and I'll walk my butt over there with an SD card and flash a printer if it's got a 32-bit board. So, but yeah. So anyways, yeah, that's how you do it. So you just browse, you click browse for the file, select it, it'll pop a window up, and then you hit flash, it'll flash it, and then the printer will reboot, just as if you had it hooked up to a computer. So it's a pretty nice tool. Like I said, I haven't had luck with the 32-bit one, but I know they've made a lot of updates to it. And for the 32-bit ones, with the LPC anyways, from what I saw, you have to do some installation of like a USB mounting tool. I was just like, I don't have time to mess with this. And I tried once and it didn't work, and I gave up. I was like, I'm just going to walk over and put an SD card in. Jonathan Barnes is asking, how do you do a clean reinstall of VS Code on your computer? Because every time I try, I come back to the same with no side controller bottom bar. Your application data folder on your computer, whether it's a Windows computer, a Mac, or if you're on Linux, there's like a platform IO file. You want to clear that out, and there's also a VS Code. There's a it's .platform IO is a folder name, and .VS Code. You want to completely delete those, as far as I know. But the main cause, if Platform IO is installed and Python 3 is installed on your computer, and you're still not getting the bottom bar for Platform IO, the sidebar on the left might just be a visual setting inside VS Code. I haven't accidentally turned it off, so I haven't gone looking for the actual option to turn it on, but I would imagine it's a option like the view settings to enable that sidebar. But the number one cause for you not getting the bottom bar for Platform IO, which has like, you know, the home button, the build, like build/compile button, the upload button, is because you're opening the wrong folder for the firmware. So meaning you open either too high up in the folder structure or too far down. You want to make sure you're opening right at the folder that contains a platformio.ini file. On our firmware, that's the one called firmware. So let's see here. Other next questions here. Justin, you're using direct drive? I have some direct drive printers here. I use what they come with. I've converted a couple machines to direct drive here. So, what direct drive kit to use for the CR10? I have an ANET E10 that has got a CR10 carriage on it, and I have what we call the tough direct hot end, which is basically the Titan Arrow. So you take a, you know, tough extruder, a tough hot end, and the tough direct heatsink, and you put them all together in this nice compact setup. It's the same thing as the E3D Titan Arrow, but yeah, it works. I don't really have anything that requires me to use direct drive. Like, I don't print stuff that's super flexible, and the main reason people go to direct drive is for like super flexible materials. I do have the Daedalus behind me, which is a V6 with a Bondtech direct drive setup. So I've got enough machines here where if I have a material that is easier to print on direct drive, I have enough machines around that I can just pop filament in there and use a different one. Jonathan Bayer's asking what slicer do I use. I'm still using S3D because it works. And Joe and I were actually talking about, because we're going through and retuning all of our profiles, and I was like, okay, if we're going to do this, do we want to switch over to a different slicer? And he made a very good point, and this is why some people hate S3D, and this is why I like S3D. I'm not a big fan of the company. Their support seems to be more responsive now, but we had an issue where it took them over, I think it was almost 2 weeks. It wasn't more than 2 weeks, but it was like just slightly under 2 weeks, where we couldn't use the software because their activation servers were screwed up, and it took them a while to get back to us. So I was a little miffed about that, because I literally had to be slicing files for employees because they couldn't use the licenses on the computers. But as a slicer, S3D works, and the reason we're sticking with it is because and Joe made this point, I do agree with him, the problem with stuff like Cura and Idea Maker, while they're great slicers for a production type focus like we have here, we can't be having our slicer screw up and change things and break things every other week because they're doing updates all the time. You know, S3D hasn't had an update in a while, and it honestly does not bother me because it works. It slices files, it produces good quality prints, and, you know, when you're in a business, you have to have your software work. I can't be, you know, screwing around with trying to get the latest version of Cure work, and maybe they broke something and there's a bug, and now we have prints that are coming out like crap. So, because I have had that happen in the past, and you have to roll back to an old version, and I haven't used Cura in years now. I've been using S3D for a while. So it works. I think if you're like us where you're running production, I do think S3D is worth the cost, because at the end of the day, it gives me good prints and it does the job. So I also really like the workflow in S3D. So Justin Dybell is asking, is Coax ABS worth the price? I think it is. We print with their stuff here. We print with their ABS. We print with their PLA. I don't mind spending a little more on their filament because I get repeatability and consistency from roll to roll, which I don't usually get with other brands. You know, there's a lot of brands of filament out there, you know, and sometimes you get a good roll, sometimes you don't, especially when you're in the more budget brands. You know, my backup, if for some reason Coax doesn't have what I need, I'll go and buy stuff from Atomic, but we print a lot of Coax ABS, we print a lot of Coax PLA, and I cannot remember the last time we had like an issue with a roll being bad. So, you know, just one thing, for example. So we bought, there's a guy who's a smaller company, met him through the 3D printing community. He resold filament from China. And we got filament from him. I think we bought like 30 or 40 rolls to try it out. And, you know, this was like a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And it was also during, well, it was when all the COOF stuff was happening, you know, human malware. So coax was backed up. I was like, I need filament. And the first batch was decent. The second batch we got, the rolls of PLA, once they were out of the wrapper, if they were out for like a couple of hours, they would literally start snapping on the printer. Like the filament got so brittle, it would literally snap, and it would snap after the filament sensor. So that's stuff I've never, knock on wood, never had to deal with coax. And if it means I'm paying $6, $7, $8 more a roll, the fact that I'm not having to sit there and babysit my printers, and I know they're going to finish their print jobs without human intervention, you know, wasting employee time, wasting my time, that $6 to $7 or whatever more they cost, I don't care. They're just under $30 a roll. I know they did raise their prices because I don't know if you guys noticed, prices on everything are going up. We've started seeing price increases from all our suppliers. Just how the world is right now, and it sucks. But that's a rant for another day and not this channel. But anyways, yes, I like coax. Sorry, I get off on tangents. I'm going to blame my ADD. But let's see here. RAM Design is looking for a new easy board for Sue. I got to open up this little... Oh, you can't see it. Oh, maybe you can. So that box right there... one of our customers sent us in. I guess he sold off a bunch of his printers, and he's got a couple. Those are a couple of used easy boards at work. I'm going to test them, and then I'll probably just post a link in the Cult of TH3D stuff and give you guys first dibs on them. But it's literally just a couple of boards, like 2 or 3 boards. So if you don't mind getting something used, that, you know, I'm literally going to test everything and qualify it, and then they'll be refurbished. Is what we're going to sell them as. We'll have a couple. So. Not a couple hundred, literally like a couple boards. So, but I'll give you guys first dibs on that. We also have, I will say, we do have a B stock page now. So if you don't mind having stuff that's not perfectly cosmetic but functions 100%, we actually went through and inventoried all of our flex plates that didn't 100% like pass our new QC but are fully functional, and those are on there, and they actually have a really deep discount on them. So if you go on our site, there's a B stock section, and it's just a drop down, and there's a list of everything that we have. So if you're looking for a good deal on our Easy Flex system, that's the only thing that's on there right now. But that page is going to serve as basically anything that we have that's like, you know, cosmetic defect or customer return that we can't resell as new is going to be going on there. So just check that page once in a while, and there'll just be a drop down menu that shows you all the stuff that's on there, and it'll tell you if it's in stock or not. So. But anyways, let's see here. What other questions do we have? When is the next 3D printer roast session? That's a good question. I should do another one. Let me put myself a little sticky note on my monitor so I don't forget. Because I will forget. I have to write stuff down. And we're going to stick that right there. Right there on my screen. All right. Anyways. I'm looking here. Superconductor wants to go Big Bertha direct drive with an Easy ABL's Ender 6. Can you suggest mounting options? I don't know of any. Have you guys been keeping up with any aftermarket mounts? I've been seeing a little more chatter on the Ender 6. But I haven't seen a ton. I was expecting there to be more third-party mounts, like people making mounts and posting them online for the Ender 6. But I'm not aware of any. I don't know if maybe we should just design one, but that would require time. Joe might have some time. I'll have to ask Joe if he's up for a little project. I'm just looking through Thingiverse. I'm surprised that there's not much. I checked a couple, like I want to say a month ago, and there were a couple of like aftermarket fan ducts, like nothing where you're replacing the whole, what's the word I'm looking for? Where you're replacing the whole hot end carriage type setup, like with a fully new one. I'm not seeing much on Thingiverse, surprisingly. Where's everybody posting their models at these days? Is it on Things? I've heard Things has been getting popular. I'll have to see. maybe someone in our Discord server. I totally forgot to pull Discord up. I gotta pull the live streams channel up here. Doesn't look like anybody posted anything in it, so I guess that's fine. Didn't miss anything. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think anybody really has designed much for the Ender 6. I'm kind of curious on Ender 6 hot end mount. Let me just DuckDuckGo that. Ender 6 hot end mount. There's stuff for the Ender 5, Ender 3, but those are completely different carriages. I know Micro Swiss has a direct drive kit for the Ender 6. I remember seeing that. I'll have to look and see. Yeah, that doesn't look like there's much out there. If anybody knows something, post it in the live streams channel. Yeah, Thingiverse search engine is pretty ghetto. Anyways, so let's see. Steven Goodman says, I have to move my printers to an outdoor building where they'll be living in an approximately 90-degree environment. Is this going to affect electronics when they're running and when they're not? 90 degrees isn't terrible, but what I would be concerned about is if you're printing PLA, you're probably going to have problems, meaning your hot end is going to get too hot and the filament's going to start getting soft further up than it should, meaning you're going to get jams. So yeah, I would not put my printers in a 90-degree environment. That's just me. I don't know if you were putting it in like a... Oh no. Sorry, I yawned. I forgot to mix myself some up this morning, but I was like, I'm going to need this for the stream. But anyways, I don't know if you're putting it in like a garage or something. If you are putting it in a garage, I don't know if you could like build yourself like a little insulated room and then put something like, you know, like a little window AC unit in there. I would definitely recommend getting some sort of air conditioning. In my garage here, which is like my office, I don't know if you guys noticed, my office this isn't a garage, that we put a wall up and everything's insulated. I have one of those Mr. Cool DIY mini split units, and the nice thing about them is you can install them. You don't need to have an HVAC person put them in because all the lines are vacuumed down. So basically, if you can drill some holes and screw things to the wall and follow directions and run some power, you can put one in. But, you know, a really simple solution would be like build like a little box, like a room for all your printers if it is going in a garage, and throw like a window unit in, like an AC unit. If there's no windows on the wall, I mean, you could even just have the AC unit dump its hot air into the garage if you don't want to go through the wall. So, because, I mean, if the rest of the garage isn't, you know, heated or cooled, who cares if you're dumping the hot air from the air conditioning unit into there? The only thing I would say is you'll probably get the condensation, because usually most window units, they will drip. So, but I would not put my printers in a 90-degree environment, mainly because of print quality issues, not really electronics. I wouldn't really be concerned too much about the electronics, but I'd be definitely concerned about the issues with the filament. So Jesse Sparks with the EasyVal, what's the best way to manage the Z offset for different filaments? I found that when printing PETGears PLA, I need to raise the nozzle a fair bit. So I would check. I have not had to play with my offsets on my machines when I change temperatures. I would check and see if something is like loose and not tightened down, because it could be getting like expansion or getting looser as you're cranking your bed temp up. Because if you're going from PETG to PLA, you're going from 60C to 80C, maybe something's loose. But if everything's all good, or maybe you have the older version of the kit, I would say you could have a slicer profile for each film or each filament. And let's say these are just arbitrary numbers, but just to give an example. So let's say your PETG, your offset's like negative 1.8, but PLA, your offset's negative 1.9. You can put an M851Z negative whatever the offset is in your starting code before all the other code, and what that's going to do is set the Z offset before it even starts doing a G28 and G29. So that'd be the best way to like automate it or manage it without doing any, you know, complicated firmware work. So let's see here. You know, Griff is asking, a while back I asked about layer heights with different nozzle sizes, and you mentioned 80%. That's a rule of thumb I always have heard and followed, and what I found actually works. And what that means is, let's say you have a 0.4 nozzle, the highest layer height you want to print with a 0.4 nozzle is a 0.32 because that's 80% of 0.4. He's saying, but is there a rule with other layer heights that you can use? I don't know what you mean by, is there a rule with other layer heights that you can use? Not sure what you mean by that. So, Marty's asking about the new Easy boards. Price is going to be about the same as it is now because chips are really expensive. So we're not gonna be giving up any features. We're trying to add some new stuff onto this. So, but they're not going to be, they're not going to be unless we get screwed. I'm gonna retract that and say there shouldn't be a price increase above what we have now, which is the 129. I would not expect prices to go down because everything is more expensive right now, and especially anything with silicon is just an absolute crapshoot. I try to keep these streams family friendly. So ET on the new LED light kits. We are waiting on the power modules because I don't want to launch this product and not be able to support our board. As far as I know, we're only a couple weeks out on those. So, and that's my next thing in terms of documentation and videos is getting these all documented, how to hook these up, how to set them up in Marlin. Joe actually took some and he's got him working on his duet board. So just trying to get the documentation done on that and then getting the parts in, because it'd be kind of dumb to launch a product that's really cool and not be able to support our own board out of the gate. So we're just waiting to get those parts in for the plug-on modules for the EasyBoard V1 that will then allow these to be driven from the board. And then, yeah, documentation, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. So all the hardware is done for this. We're just waiting on some PCBs. So let's see here. I'm looking to see what other questions we have. Llama's in the house saying, Tim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he always does. I can hear that in his voice. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. I was waiting for it. I was like, chat hasn't jumped in a little bit. So, let's see here. And Pop and Barter is asking about the Easy Ender 6 Easy Flex. They're in production. I gotta bug our supplier and be like, hey, when are these coming out? Because he started them, but I have not had an update. That was a couple weeks, but it usually takes them about 2 to 3 weeks to get our order done. So I don't want to bother him too much and piss him off. Let's see here. I'm just looking through chat for people's questions here. Jonathan's asking, does S3D work well with multiple printer profiles? Considering we have like 20 plus different ones, yes, it does. We set each printer up with its own process. So how S3D is structured is you have the printer profile, and then you have a process, and you can link a profile to a process. So we have a process for each machine, and sometimes multiple processes for the same machine. Like for example, like 0.2 layer height process, a 0.3 layer height process, one for PLA, one for ABS. Instead of changing from the drop down to the material type, we just set everything in the process. I know they have an Ender 3 profile. I don't know if they have an Ender 6 profile. I just made my own Ender 6 profile. And it seems to be working pretty good. Let's see here. Superconductors are asking about Clipper and the Easy board. There is an example config now in the official Clipper repo that a bunch of the guys on Discord banged out and tested, and now it's in Clipper's repo. So if you want to play around with that, you can do so at your own risk. We don't do any tech support for Clipper with our boards. Just Marlin is the only thing we deal with. So, but Clipper can run on the Easy board. We just don't officially support it because I don't want to be dealing with technical support on Clipper because it's a very, very complicated firmware in comparison to Marlin. Marlin's fairly simple and it works. So, but I'm looking here right now for any other questions. You guys aren't very chatty today, although we used to get about 110, 120 viewers. We're about 86 right now. So a little bit lower. I'm looking here through other stuff. Chat jumped again, so give me 1 second here. Dan Adams is working 3 days a week instead of 4 days a week because of the chip shortage. Yeah, the chip shortage is, it's a pain in the ass. So, yeah, it's screwing us and everybody else up. So, trying to see here. Stream later in the day has more people leaving work, I'm assuming. Yeah, I've answered all the questions, apparently. This is a first. Usually you guys are more chatty. Alan, though, just popped one up. He said, S3D question. First layer height, 80% to squish or 120% to allow for bed inconsistencies? I actually run 150% first layer height and width. So that's what I said. And if you actually watch the new EasyABL Pro video and look at the EasyABL installation guide, we actually recommend that as well. So I do, regardless of what first layer or what layer height I'm printing at, I always do a 0.3 first layer, 150% width. And then if I'm doing like a 0.2, I have to set the height to 150%. So, but yeah, I like to run it a little bit thicker. So if there are any bed inconsistencies that, you know, are very slight, you're not even going to notice them. So, you know, unless you want to run a million probe points, you're never going to tune out every single little inconsistency with your bed. Nemogriff max layer is 0.48 with a 0.6 nozzle. That sounds right. Should you use 0.46, 0.45, 0.43, or is there some kind of formula that says what is best? Like in my opinion, I would go with something like 0.4. Well, if you're gonna max it out, 0.48. I usually stick with like whole numbers like 0.3, 0.2, 0.1, 0.5. There's some people that are like, what's the word I'm looking for? There's like these magic numbers, which is based on like, you know, your steps per millimeter, your angle, that kind of stuff. But in my experience, I haven't noticed any print quality difference, whether you're operating at like what would be considered the optimal layer height, especially when you're talking with auto bed leveling, because when you're dealing with a machine with auto bed leveling, and maybe that's why I haven't noticed the difference, but because all of my machines that I use on a daily basis have auto bed leveling, it's always going to be moving the Z. So the idea of like these magic numbers is you want to lock your stepper motor into an optimal position where it's got a good amount of torque and it's not like kind of in between a step or in a partial step. And that makes sense if you think about it. But if you're running an auto bed leveling system on your printer, which a lot of people are and all my machines are, you're not going to lock it in because it's going to be constantly moving throughout the print and making adjustments. So I don't think it really matters. Run some test prints and see. I don't know if that'd be a video people be interested in. Just I could run a bunch of different, you know, just run the same print like, you know, Calicat or Benji, something that prints quick, and just, you know, vary it by like a little bit, like, you know, 0.42, 0.43, like you were saying, and see what happens. You know, maybe there will be a quality difference. Maybe there won't. Yeah. So, but yeah, think about that. So the idea of those magic numbers is when you're not using an ABL system, and that does kind of make sense to lock the stepper into an optimal position. But if you have ABL, it really doesn't matter because it's going to be constantly moving to compensate for your bed throughout the entire print. So M. Poffenberger asks, oh wait, no, sorry. Vincent was the next one. What's my first layer speed? It depends on the machine. I run anywhere, if I had to give a range, it's like 20 to 30% first layer speed, and my print speed is usually set to 60 to 80 millimeters a second. So, yep. Let's see here. Victor Riviera says, Tim, which model MKS board do you guys sell? We have the MKS S Gen L V2, and we do actually have stock on those. So, actually, one of my guys picked one of those up the other day. So, hang on. You guys are actually chatting now, and it's moving my chat window up. Here we go. M. Poffenbarger. Anyone have a good vertical 3D printed standard GPU at least 12 inches high? I searched online, not finding anything very attractive. Mr. Poffenbarger, I thought I saw Top at Waffle post a thing in the chat, which is my brother, and I know he has one. I don't know how big his is, but he made one for his 3090. He's in our Discord server too, and I'm pretty sure you're in our Discord server as well. Yeah, you are. So cross connect. He might be able to share his STL. He is working on. He just bought a house and he's tearing the basement out, so he might he might not have time to respond right away. But I know he has one. Or download Fusion 360 and get to cracking. That shouldn't be too hard to design. Oh, look at he posted his little mount in Discord. I'll share it. Look at, he is listening. Look at that. Look at that little cute mount. It's so adorable. Oh, he even put like a little metal bracket on it and everything. I wonder if that came with a video card. I'm willing to bet that came with the video card. Oh, it's so adorbs. It's so cute. That's a, oh, yours got three 8-pin power connectors like mine. I've got the Asus one. So, but yeah, those cards are chunks. It's just a sag bracket. Came with the EVGA FTW3 for OEM case use. Okay. I mean, I would take this as an opportunity to download Fusion 360 and whip something up. You know, start with something basic. Just build a basic, stand, and then you can start doing fillets and chamfers and make it all pretty. So, let's see here. Any update on the Tasmota bulbs? Haven't got a chance to come back to them yet. I had to put that on hold. Lumi X, any advantage using a 4010 hot end cooler fan compared to a 4010? Try not to hear me. Gen 5 cooler, figured it was worth a try. So the main reason people go with a 4020 over a 4010 is you can get the same amount of airflow out of a 4020 at a lower speed because the blades are bigger, which means they run quieter. The only downside is then you're almost, it depends on the fan, but let's generalize and say you're basically doubling the weight that's on there. Now, does that weight really matter? Probably not, but you will have a thicker fan sticking out. So we do carry fans that are quiet. They're not silent like Noctua's, because Noctua's, their 4010s don't move a lot of air. But we have ones that are quieter than the stock fans, and they're also going to last a lot longer. So 3D Print Llama says, do a CaliCat totem pole with the changes as each new cat. That would be kind of cool. So basically have the layer height change. That'd be pretty cool. Subconductor is asking, what would you pick as a good compromise volcano nozzle diameter for printing slower? Okay, let me reread this. What would you pick as a good compromise volcano nozzle diameter for printing slower and save 0.16 layer height in bigger layers and fast? 0.16 is not a big layer height. If I'm going to put a volcano nozzle on a printer, I'm going to do a minimum of 0.2 and go up. I can speak from like what my experience is and different nozzle diameters. So I think if you want to go a little bit larger than, if you want to go a little bit larger than a 0.4, 0.6 is a good compromise between being able to really crank out filament, but not losing detail. Like, I have machines here with a 0.8 nozzle, and I can't print some smaller items on them without losing detail. Like, certain features of the part just don't come out because the nozzle's so damn big. I would say if you want a good all-arounder still and not shoot yourself in the foot kind of thing, the 0.6 would be a good step up. But nozzles aren't that hard to change out. I would say play around and see. Like, if you're printing a bunch of functional stuff that doesn't have a lot of detail, and it doesn't have a lot of small, intricate stuff, you might be fine with a 0.8. I've got multiple machines here with 0.6s and 0.8s, and everything else is running a 0.4. So it's one of those things that maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll hate it, because there's some people that, like, I've talked to them about getting larger nozzles, and they ended up hating the larger nozzles. And I have other people that love it. So, I mean, I like doing nice, big, fat layers on my 0.8 nozzle. Like yesterday, I printed a bracket for a Meanwhile power supply to power our resin printers. They're hooked up. They're hooked up. And, you know, it cranked out a print at a 0.4 layer height really quick. So it's all about what you want to do with your machine. You know, I have the nice thing about if you do have multiple printers, you can set certain ones up to do certain things well. Meaning you can have one that's a good all-rounder with a 0.4, or you can have one that really just chews up filament with a big, long nozzle, you know, a beefy heater, and, you know, overkill cooling for really printing large layer heights. And then, you know, if depending on what you're printing, oh, this is a large functional part. It doesn't have a ton of detail. It's more of, you know, just a bracket or something like that. I'm going to run it off on my big nozzle because I don't care about it being pretty, you know. And I'm not saying that the large layer heights aren't pretty. It's just some people don't like layer lines. I don't mind it. I love seeing those layer lines. So I don't mind if I have, you know, 0.4, 0.5, or even 0.6 thick layers. I like how it looks. So, but one thing you'll be really surprised by, if you by going up to a larger nozzle size, your prints are going to be a lot stronger too. The same part printed on a 0.6 versus a 0.4 is actually going to be a lot stronger than the 0.4. So play around with it. It's a lot of fun. Jonathan Barnes asking, have I seen the Anycubic Viper? I have not, but I looked it up. It looks like a CR6. And like it looks like a rebranded CR6. I'm looking at this. Yeah, it looks like a CR6. Oh, they got the strain gauge stuff on there. I'm curious, have you guys, I haven't put a lot of time on our CR6 because I'm worried about leaving it unattended because the stock boards had some electrical problems. But any of you guys that have CR6, have you had issues with the strain gauges going out? Because I have seen chatter on our Discord server where people have been having issues where they don't trigger reliably after they have some time on them. I haven't put much time on ours at all, so I can't be like, oh yeah, it's, you know, it's solid or it's bad. I'm just like pinging you guys to see if anybody has any experience, if you had issues or not with the CR6 and the strain gauge. So, but let's see here. Any other questions? What's your opinion on... Oh, I saw someone asking about the fade height. So auto bed leveling fade height is something you can turn on in the firmware, and we have it on in our latest builds. The one thing I will say is do not set a very low fade height, and I would consider 2 to 3 millimeters a low fade height, because the problem is if you have a lot of compensation that's needed to be done on your bed, it's going to try to drastically fade out that compensation, and it's just going to end up weird. I found that in my experience that 10 millimeters works well. If I'm printing a part that's less than 10 millimeters, I'll just leave the auto bed leveling fade off. The thing you want to avoid is having it fade out too quickly versus fading out over a longer distance, because you got to remember the firmware is doing this, the slicer's unaware of this, the firmware is doing this to fade out the compensation, till eventually the auto bed leveling compensation is off by slightly varying the layer heights and doing less and less compensation on every single layer, if that makes sense. So, workbench update. I haven't got a new workbench yet. I keep forgetting. There's been a lot of stuff going on here. Almost done with all the backyard stuff, so I'm really, really glad that that's going to be coming to an end, because it's been a couple months now, and I'm done. So, Calypso Fourleg said, "Oh, it's the guy with the oddball Sunlow S8 board. Yes, I remember you. You're the one who had the second revision." And he's saying there's a replacement fascia for the Sunlow to install an MKS S Gen L and several screen options, including a stock Creality. Huh. You should post that in the live streams link. I'd be definitely interested in it. And now I'm kind of regretting selling it to Doug. I know Doug's been putting a lot of time on that. Maybe not so much now because he's dealing with, you know, a house, getting a house set up. So, But yeah, definitely post that in the live streams channel. I'd love to see that. So I use the heck out of that S8. Yeah, I really like the S8. It's for the price, you can't argue. You can't really argue with it. I'm gonna have to look that up. Sunlu S8. Anybody have a link? Because that's interesting. That's cool. Like, is this a thing that Sunlu put out, or is this a community thing? Because I think I see a thing on Thingiverse, Sunlu S8 SKR MKS SGNL 1.0 2.0 conversion. I think this might be what you're talking about. So it's a printed thing. Hey, that'd be cool. Doug, if you're watching, you gotta convert it. Come on. I got it. Let's see. Search King Sunlu S8 on Thingiverse. Well, I found that one. Is this it? I think this is the other one you're talking about here. I'll post the links in the description. That looks pretty cool. It's pretty well done. Doug, you know you want to. You know you want to. Although he probably won't. He's still running a Melzi board in his Tronxy that I had got for him from GearBest. He's still using that. And there's something weird with that board where you can't actually flash the bootloader. It won't take it. So he's running like a firmware that's probably 3 years old at this point. So yeah, you're right. You probably will not. Maybe I should get another Sunlu S8. What do you guys think? I got enough projects, but this looks pretty cool. I'm just going to share this on screen because this actually looks pretty good. Main monitor. Like, this is pretty well done. I've seen some really tacky, like, conversions, but this is pretty good. I like it. This looks nice. Angled box and lid. Let's see. Sunlu S8. Where's... Oh, the other one was right there. Here it is. This is the other one I posted in chat here. So, it looks similar to the other one. Maybe it's a derivative of it. Is it? No? Is this a derivative of that other one? Is that King one? Let's see. Is that King one a derivative of the one? No, it's not. Or it's not listed anyways. Anyways, it looks like there's a couple of cool options. So someone must have got really fed up with dealing with the stock board, which the stock board is an 8-bit board, but it'll work. It'll print. It'll get the job done. 8-bit boards aren't just meant to be tossed in the trash just because there's 32-bit ones. We got a lot of machines still running 8-bit boards here. I will say, I think I'm at over half of mine now in my office are using 32-bit, but a lot of our print farm is still running 8-bit boards because they work. So why does Thingiverse suck so much? Because MakerBot, I don't know why. I don't know why they keep limping it along. I wish they would like sell it, but I don't know. Maybe they're making money off of it. I have no idea. I'm willing to bet they're running Thingiverse on like a couple of Pentium 4s, you know, with some spinning discs in there. But yeah, anyways, I think that's all the questions. That's some cool info, though. I like the Sunlu S8. It kind of hits that sweet spot of, you know, cheap but still decent. And that's kind of where I like to be with a lot of my stuff. So, you know, I only have one higher end machine, and it's sitting behind me. So, but I love tinkering with the Chinese printers. If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing this for my day job. So, anyways, I just realized, is there any more? Oh, there's one left in here. We gotta give Remo his treat. You know the drill, don't you? You're like, Dad's talking at the computer screen, which means in an hour I get a dingo stick. Touch. Sit. Shake. Good boy. Good boy. There we go. He's a happy dog. Clara is not here. Clara's not here right now. Samantha's on her way back from the land of cheese. So, but yeah, it's just been Remo and I all weekend. We got a lot done. So, and Remo went swimming in a pond yesterday and met 2 dogs. So, and he did very good, even off leash. He did not try to run away. But I also had treats in my pocket, and he's very food motivated. So, anyways, I hope you guys learned something. Make sure if you got an Easy ABL kit and you're looking for a little help to install it, check out the new video we just released. That is a lot of work. I hope you guys like it. I put a ton of time in it, tried to add a lot of polish to it, and try to cover as much as I could. So anyways, I appreciate you guys all stopping by. The next one will be Wednesday at 2 p.m. Central, and I'm going to try to pepper in a little fun live stream this week. I do have a couple other machines to review, but I don't want to unbox more machines, so I think we're going to have some like hangout where I'm working on printers and we can all kind of hang out and talk shop. So anyways, I got to get back to work. I appreciate everybody that stopped by, and as always, happy printing.